There you are. We can see you.
Perfect. Okay, we are live now. Good afternoon. My name is Randy Groves. I am the chair of the Metropolitan Policy Committee. I'm also a Eugene City Councilor. And before we do introductions, I wanted to start with just a little bit of housekeeping information for those who are here in person. First of all, your mics are hot the whole time. There's nothing you need to push. And you're not going to hear them going over a speaker here in the room. This is just for our virtual attendees. The other thing is we're going to be sharing mics between us. There's one mic for every two people who are here present. The last thing for the local or the in-person people, the clock to my right looks like it's on Fiji time, so don't pay attention to that. And with that, let's start with introductions. I already said who I am. Mayor Van Gordon, can you?
Sean Van Gordon, Mayor of Springfield.
You don't turn it off, just pass it to Beth. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Beth Blackwell. I'm Vice Chair of MPC and Springfield City Councilor.
Good morning, Paul Thompson, Manager of the Central Lane MPO at LCOG.
Thank you.
Vidal Francis, Oregon Department of Transportation.
Pete Knox, Lane Transit District.
Susan Cox, Lane Transit District.
Thank you for the people in person. Now let's go to our virtual group. Mayor Knutson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mayor Karen Knutson, City of Eugene.
And Commissioner Lovell.
Lane County Commissioner David Lovell, District 2, broadcasting live from Fiji.
And I believe that's everybody here.
I will also note that there are other people in the virtual room. I don't know if they wish to introduce themselves, but we do have other staff and ex officio members.
I think it's going to be hard to get around to everybody that's here in person. So let's just call it good, unless there's somebody that's important. Well, everybody's important, but somebody that's important to this immediate procedure. Okay, with that, I call this meeting to order. And first of all, are there any adjustments to the agenda? I'm not seeing any. Are there any announcements from MPC members? And Paul, if you can help, because the screen's behind me, if you see people, give me the high sign. Are there any announcements from members of the MPC? Seeing none. Okay, we're moving right along. We're on to agenda item 4. Are there any comments from the audience? Have people signed up?
Just double checking, nobody has signed up.
Okay, nobody has signed up. No comments from those in attendance. The first action item before us is agenda item 5, approval of the October 2nd, 2025 MPC meeting minutes. Is there a motion for approval?
I move to approve the October 2025 MPC meeting minutes.
Motion moved by Vice Chair
Blackwell, Councilor Blackwell.
I know who she is. I just had a senior moment there.
I'll second.
And we have a second. So moved and seconded. Does anyone object to passing this motion? Seeing that, looks like unanimous approval. Thank you very much. Okay, we're now on to item 6, which is Metropolitan Planning Organization MPO issues. The first is 6A, Regional Transportation Plan, RTP update, which I believe, Paul, this is just a continuation of what we've been doing at the last couple of meetings.
Chair, it is. It's actually a continuation of almost 2 years of work, and especially the last several meetings where we've been bringing you draft portions of the RTP. Kelly is going to walk you through what today is the full draft of the RTP and all of its appendices. We'll just give you a brief overview of that, then ask you to hold the public hearing. Public comment period is open, and then we'll have a discussion.
Thank you. And I wasn't trying to minimize the work. I know this has been a long time in coming. We've only been discussing it for a few meetings. So that's what I meant by that. Okay. Kelly, do you want to take us away?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I do have a short PowerPoint presentation here that I'm going to share. If you can, let me get this up here.
While you're pulling that up, is there a way to turn the speaker volume down just a little bit in the
I
room.
believe I have control of that. We will see. Go ahead, Kelly. I think the volume is lower now.
Okay, thank you. So I just have a few slides here to share to present our regional transportation plan, congestion management process, and air quality conformity determination. And then, as Paul mentioned, I'll ask MPC to hold a public hearing for these three documents. So just as a reminder, throughout this update process, we've been providing monthly content and project updates to our Project Advisory Committee, the Transportation Planning Committee, our TPC, and MPC regarding the project's progress and status, and then also seeking feedback and direction. And we also held 2 rounds of public outreach at key project milestones, and the public feedback that we received influenced our regional transportation plan and congestion management process objectives, goals, priorities, and investments, and helped refine each of those. And all of these 3 documents are federally required, and we've worked hard to meet all of the content requirements throughout this update while also supporting all of our local and state plans and priorities. And so hopefully reflecting all of the good work that we're happening at the state and local levels as well. So the MPC packet contains the complete draft of our RTP and has 14 appendices, including the congestion management process and air quality conformity determination. Throughout this process of the update, we've brought all of the content to you for feedback and direction. So what's in your packet now is not new, but it's packaged up into its kind of its new format and its presentation format. The RTP has 7 chapters. The first is the introduction, which describes the purpose of the RTP and the federal requirements that drive its development. It introduces the public involvement and the decision-making processes for this RTP as well. The second chapter is the regional context, which describes our region's existing conditions, including employment and population, regional travel trends, and the regional transportation network, and also environmental conditions. Chapter 3 is the region's vision, which presents our regional vision, goals, objectives, and priorities that will collectively guide regional transportation planning and investment decisions through the horizon year of this plan, which is 2049. And Chapter 4 is the RTP's investments, which describes the investments that will implement the regional vision. These include a whole array of types of projects, from capital projects to programs, plans, and studies, and then all of our programs that we do. Chapter 5 is system performance, which is an overview of the performance measures and targets used to monitor progress towards our goals, and also presents a snapshot of how the system is performing. Chapter 6 is the financial plan, which demonstrates how this RTP can be implemented by assessing anticipated expenditures and revenues, and their sources necessary to carry out the system operations, maintenance, and preservation, as well as all the building and programmatic investments that we have integrated into this plan through the planning horizon. And then Chapter 7 is our conclusion. And as we mentioned, this plan has 14 appendices, and the intent of all these appendices is just to provide the technical background documentation as needed. The 2 key appendices that I want to highlight, though, are the congestion management process, which is Appendix A. And this establishes how our region manages congestion with a toolkit of strategies and describes how we will monitor and report on congestion over time. And then Appendix L, which is our air quality conformity determination. And this is a finding that the Central Lane region is within the standards for PM10 or large particulate matter, and within the standards set by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And just to touch on our key milestones to get us through adoption, we met with TPC on October 16th, and that body opened up the public comment period with the intent to begin when the MPC packet was published. The MPC packet was published October 31st, and that initiated our 30-day public comment period. Today we're meeting as MPC, and we'll request a public hearing for these 3 documents. November 30th, the public comment period will close, and then MPC will meet again December 4th, and we'll request that you vote for adoption of this of these documents. And at this point, that's all the slides I have. The shortest one you've heard from me since this whole thing began. So, but what we're requesting from MPC today is that you hold a public hearing for the Regional Transportation Plan, Congestion Management Process, and Air Quality Conformity Determination.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions from the MPC of Kelly? I'm not seeing any. Paul, do we have anything I can't see online?
I am not seeing any hands raised.
All right, well, let's proceed to public hearing then.
Chair, at this time is double checking. No one has signed up for the public hearing.
Nobody virtually?
There are, we double check the second part of the room here, virtual room. There is nobody indicating they wish to speak.
Okay, then. And we're taking action on this today. So is there a motion?
Chair.
Yes.
Chair, no, there's no action today.
Well, there's no action.
Today's is really just a public hearing, and it's the start of the public comment period that goes through the end of the month. Your action to adopt will be your next meeting in December.
Got it. Thank you. I did hear Kelly say that. Now I'm seeing, I just saw the action requested and I jumped to an assumption. Okay, well, then that concludes item 6A. Moving on to 6B, regional primary funding considerations. And it looks like Dan Callister is our lead for this. And Dan's here in person. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yes, my name is Daniel Callister. I'm a senior planner at the Lane Council of Governments. And this is regarding the regional primary funding considerations. I'm going to build up to those by first explaining a little bit about the Transportation Improvement Program. So you heard about the Regional Transportation Plan. This is another one of the key products that the MPO develops is our Transportation Improvement Program, or what we informally refer to as the TIP. It's a program of projects, a 4-year program of federally funded and regionally significant projects that will be moving forward in the next 4 years. So the TIP that we're currently developing covers the federal fiscal years 2027 through 2030. As we're developing this TIP, because the Central Lane MPO is an MPO of a certain population threshold, the MPO receives federal funds to program to projects at their discretion. So as we're developing the TIP, part of that process is coming up with a federal revenue forecast. Once we have an idea of what those federal revenues will be, we then make sure that our work program is funded, and we make sure that we secure funding for our ongoing regional programs like Safe Routes to School and transportation options work that we do. But the bulk of those federal funds are programmed through a project solicitation process. So we just wrapped up a call for projects in October where we were accepting applications. We received 19 funding proposals for the use of those federal funds through the MPO. We're currently in the process now of staff reviewing those proposals and prioritizing those for what will ultimately be a funding recommendation to MPC. So that brings me to the primary funding considerations. Could we share that, Paul? Thank you. I'm not going to read these, but I do want to take a second to explain what they are and where they came from and how we use them. So a number of years ago, our federal partners pointed out that one thing the MPO could strengthen a little bit was the connection between our investments and our long-range plan, the RTP. And one of the things that we did to try to shore that up a little bit, 3 years ago, prior to our previous TIP development cycle, we had a staff committee look at the regional transportation plan at that time, which included 28 objectives. They thinned that down, pulled out 8 objectives that would serve as a good guide for prioritizing our funding applications moving forward. So we call that our regional primary funding considerations. That went through a public process, was approved by MPC and serves still today as what we call our regional primary funding considerations. So as the staff committee are reviewing these applications and discussing the merits of each application, a big part of that is a discussion of how these proposals are addressing these primary funding considerations, where the MPO wants to see growth, what kinds of projects we want to invest. It's not the only consideration. We do, of course, we're required to consider federal performance targets, for example, air quality conformity. There's specific funding program eligibility criteria that come into play. But this is an important way that we draw a clear connection between our investments and our long-range plan. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any about this, but as a group, these objectives that we've pulled out here, as a group, they represent and support each of the 7 RTP goals. It's kind of a funny table, but on the right hand, you can see there's a column for each of the RTP goals, and a cell is shaded for the goals that are supported by that objective. Each of the goals are represented there, and it also represents a pretty broad group of project types. But at the same time, they're much more specific than the goals and could, point more specifically towards projects in a better way that the goals could. So wanted you all to understand how this works, especially since in the coming months, you're going to be seeing my face a lot. We're going through this process. We'll be presenting, we'll have a public hearing next month where we're releasing those 19 applications for public review. And then we'll go through a process where ultimately in February, MPC will be asked to take action on a funding proposal that the Transportation Planning Committee will develop. Once we have those projects selected and identified, you'll still see me probably every month through May as I'm finalizing the full transportation improvement program, the more complete program of projects beyond just the MPO's discretionary funding. And there's an air quality conformity determination and other things that go along with that. So in May is when we're anticipating the final tip adoption. So get used to seeing this face. And I am happy to answer questions if there are any, but this is information only. I just wanted to be sure that you were aware of how this process works and what you can expect in the coming months from us.
Thank you, Dan. Are there questions from the MPC regarding this report? I'm not seeing any here in the room. Paul, do we have any of our online attendees raising their hand?
I do not see anybody indicating they wish to speak.
I think this is going to be a short meeting. Thank you. That concludes item 6C. We're now on to next steps and agenda build. Paul?
Chair, that was actually 6B, 6C.
6C, excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without Paul here. Keep me straight. 6C is other MPO information. ODOT.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Can everybody hear me well? Okay, thank you. Just a couple of updates from the ODOT side of things. Number one, in January, we'll be coming out with the draft. We'll actually be starting outreach for the draft 2730 STIP. That's going to be coming out, and that's going to be a statewide STIP draft, if you will. Looking at it through it myself, just looking at Lane County projects, actually, there's not a whole lot on there. I'm seeing about 3 ODOT projects in Lane County and also about 5 local projects on that list. I'm happy to share those with you, but again, the outreach is actually going to start in January. And as we get into about the July 2026 timeframe, that's when the OTC is going to actually review that entire list and also make some sort of recommendation to approve it, if you will. Secondly, there is a rollout of what we call the CIP, the Capital Investment Program that we have that's going to be coming out. And basically this CIP is a way for us to start to create the pipeline for projects to start coming out into the STIP that we actually have. I have reached out to some of the folks on my end to see if they could actually come out and do a presentation for this group here. And again, it's an opportunity for us to here locally identify and prioritize projects that we feel that are important here and get those to be recommended and for input to be included into what we call is the CIP, or the Capital Investment Program. And this is sort of going to be like a breeding ground, if you will, for projects as they get a little bit further more developed, and as the time comes appropriate, we kind of drop those into the STIP. But again, it's more of a breeding ground for projects and so forth, but we do need to hear what are some of those local recommendations are for what's important here, so that we could have recommendations to put on that. I do know that with the Lane Act, we have scheduled for the month of December to kind of roll this out, give a presentation to that group to see what it's all about. And then they're going to have the hard conversation as we go into, I believe it's February, March timeframe, to deliberate over what's the priorities here for Lane County, and get those included into, if we will, our CIP. So we're going to start having that harder conversation on the act, but I do believe that it's important for this group here to have that same conversation. And I could reach out to you, Paul, maybe later to give you a name to who to reach out to come on this group. And I do believe for the month of December, we are loaded with a lot of committees to reaching out to, so it may be in January, but we can have that conversation later. And then thirdly on my list too, I just wanted to, I think I said this last time, with the passage of the bill in the special session, that was that 3991, I think it was HB 3991. We have already started recruitment efforts. They're ongoing. They're happening right now. I think I last mentioned there was about 750 vacancies that the agency has experienced, and over time, our priorities right now are three sets of groups of positions that we're trying to fill. Number one being maintenance, to make sure that we're whole at least to go through the winter. And as you can already tell with the wet weather coming in, a lot of the leaves are dropping and so forth. Having those maintenance folks, especially the frontline ones, are very critical to keeping our roads and highways open. The second group or wave of vacancies that we're trying to fill too are those in DMV. Again, that's another group of frontline individuals that do service folks statewide. When we're talking about renewals, driver's license, et cetera, those are critical positions that we feel that need to get filled. And then after that, a third wave of vacancies will be pretty much critical positions, select critical positions throughout the state. And again, that's the plan right now that we've embarked on. And if you want further detail, we can talk about more of that offline. That's all that I have right now, Chair.
Thank you, Vidal. Are there questions for Vidal from the MPC? I'm not seeing in the room any online. I'm not seeing any online. Actually, I have one question.
Yes.
And I'm not asking for you to violate any anything regarding the referendum petition on the funding that the legislature in special session provided ODOT, but is there any consideration in allocations based on the potential for that to be overturned?
Wow, I don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
All right, no, that's fine. Just something that,
Good.
As a city councilor and also chair of MPC, obviously we rely on that funding for completing projects that are necessary for the safety and integrity of our transportation system. And I'm just trying to get an idea of what we need to be doing to prepare or whatever.
Very good question. And even though I don't have an answer for you, I can say that thought is not lost, if you will, with some of our agency heads and some of our leaders and so forth. And again, that conversation, although I'm not fully into all those conversations, but nevertheless, I know that those thoughts and those concerns are being spoken of.
Okay.
But I don't have an answer for that. Right
No, that's fair. I'm sure that we will get more information as we go, but I just have a concern with spending like everything's okay. And then all of a sudden, not only do we have to figure out how we roll that back, but then we have to roll further to make up for what was spent. And, to me, it just seems important that we give some attention to prioritization as we move forward. This is going to be critically important to the work of this body here and our collective communities. So anyway, thank you so much. And now we can move on to number 2 under item 6C, tip project changes, Paul.
Again, Chair, that information is in your packet. If you have any questions, those are just administrative changes to the projects listed.
Questions from the MPC? Not seeing any. So now we can move on to next steps and agenda build.
So Chair, we are scheduled to hold a meeting on December 4th. We are planning on that meeting being virtual, and it will focus on adopting the RTP following the presentation you had today. We are not planning to have a meeting in January since the regular date would be January 1st, and we didn't feel the need to reschedule it for a different day in January, so we would see you in February after that. Other than that, I do have one other request. Last week, a week ago today, I did send an email to the members about our annual Title VI demographic survey. There's 10 NPC members, and so far we have 5 responses. That's great, but if you haven't responded, we'd appreciate it. It's just 3 questions very quickly online if you have a chance to fill that out.
I'll just add that only takes literally a couple of minutes to do. That is, if I saved it properly, I may be not one of the 5, but I think I completed it. So thank you. Okay, well, that looks like that's all we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for attending and your continued work on this project. And I apologize, Beth, I just drew a blank there on your name. I know you pretty well. So anyway, thank you. And with that, we are adjourned.
Great work, Chair. Thank you.